Has it really been one full year of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show? Indeed it has. Southern California, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have quite a bit to get into, such as the Angels showing a little chops as Shohei Ohtani has been doing his thing and he is in the home run derby in this upcoming All-Star break. And the Dodgers have kind of taken a little tumble, but at least they finished strong against the Miami Marlins. What do they have going forward? And the Padres have been a little up and down. Can the Padres get it together? Or will it be a little too late after the All-Star break? And then the LA Galaxy took a little bit of a tumble to Sporting KC this past Saturday, but got back on track against FC Dallas. What's next for the Galaxy, and can they overtake the Seattle Sounders? Also, LAFC won last night, and are they starting to come back a little? And then also we have some UCLA and USC men's basketball decisions from the players that recently departed for the NBA draft. Are they going to be NBA draft bound, or will they be coming back? And like I said, this is the 1-year anniversary of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, so I'll be giving my thoughts on what's been happening ever since July 8th, 2020, and what's been happening right now. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. And yes, I'm doing the show on a Thursday as opposed to Friday because, like I said, it is the 1-year anniversary of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. July 8th, 2020, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show first went live. So we gotta celebrate in the biggest way, shape, and form. And yes, it has been one full year with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Just reminiscing a little bit, considering a lot has happened since I went live with the show. But we're going to get into that in a little bit. I know I'm not getting emotional or anything. I'm not going to cry on the air. But I will be going over what has been happening since the SoCal Supreme Sports Show first aired, and a lot more. But without any further delay, let's get on into the Southern California sports action. But first of all, we have a word from our sponsor. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team is the official sponsor of IE Sports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film, to try out for professional sports teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow the Southern California Warriors on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, and you can also follow them on Instagram at SouthernCalifornia_Warriors, and the SoCal Warriors are also on Facebook. as long as you search the SoCal Warriors. So definitely do check them out. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show definitely supports the SoCal Warriors, no matter what the circumstances. So thank you once again for being the official sponsor for IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So now let's get into the Southern California sports action. So it feels rather weird knowing that there's not a team from Southern California playing in the NBA playoffs as of right now, as the Clippers lost in the Western Conference Finals. I have to get used to saying that because the Clippers actually did make the Western Conference Finals. They made it to the halfway point of the postseason. I'm kidding, Clippers fans. And then the Lakers lost in the first round. And for the team that defeated both those teams, it was the Phoenix Suns, which unfortunately it was tough to see both of those teams go down in defeat. But for the Lakers, it wasn't all their fault. AD going down didn't do them any favors, and LeBron being less than 100% didn't do them any favors. And Kawhi not playing the whole series, and then eventually not having Ivica Zubac and a Marcus Morris who was less than 100% in like a couple of the games didn't do them any favors. So, and then Game 2 happened for the Clippers as well. So it's disappointing, but it is what it is. So as for news regarding the Lakers and the Clippers, so there hasn't been any big time news. There's been the murmurs saying that Kawhi might leave for the Mavericks or the Knicks or any other team, and then there's always the Lakers going on as they're trying to get Damian Lillard. They're trying to move on from Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma did say he wants a better expansion role, but unfortunately, he hasn't yet to get that, and we'll see if he's going to be on the Lakers. As we say hello to Miss Gina G in the chat room, saying happy anniversary and have a great show. And she says, as soon as Zubac went down, I knew it was over for the Clips, unfortunately. And that's a lot for me to say because I'm not a Zubac fan. I agree, because it was bad enough they lost Kawhi, but then losing Zubac didn't do them any favors when they had to face DeAndre Ayton. So that was kind of tough for them. But injuries are unfortunately part of the game, and now they know how the Lakers kind of felt when they lost AD, and then when LeBron wasn't at full strength, and the other players on the Lakers just couldn't step up. So there's that right there. So as for the most recent news involving the Clippers and the Lakers, so involving the Clippers, Kenny Atkinson is getting a new coaching gig. I think he's going to, if I remember correctly, he's going to the Golden State Warriors to be the assistant coach for the Warriors, if I'm not mistaken. I do know he is moving on, and he also needs to coach in Brooklyn as well. So Atkinson has departed from the Clippers coaching staff, which it's c'est la vie for the Clippers, but we wish him the best. And then I also did hear that Sam Cassell was kind of a front runner when it came to being a head coaching candidate, I think for the Trailblazers, if I'm not mistaken, because Portland eventually fired Terry Stotts and whatnot. So we'll see what happens with good old Sam I.M., because Sam used to be a Clipper himself, and it would be tough to see the Clippers assistants depart from the Clippers and whatnot. But at least they're getting good opportunities, such as Gina also mentions that the Warriors are also getting an assistant coach from the Raptors coaching staff. Well, that's cool. That's cool, and I want to say he's known Steve Kerr, so there's that right there. So there's that. And if you're a big fan of Northern California sports, definitely do check out Reppin' to NorCal Sports with Miss Gina G every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And that goes on every Monday, which is 2 hours before my other show, Set Point, but I digress. So as for the Lakers, I actually did not mention this last week. Jason Kidd has officially departed from the Lakers as he is going to the Dallas Mavericks to be their head coach. Now, this is kind of understandable just because Jason Kidd was a former player of the Mavericks and whatnot. I totally understand, as we say hello to Mary Ella, the co-host of the Red River Rush, which is the Texas and Oklahoma show. That aired on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Central Time. Its standard time will be 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. So, and then we also have Philly Sports Talk, a.k.a. Bobby Cash, popping in the chat room saying he's listening on the Jersey Shore. And thank you for tuning in, my man. I appreciate you. Philly Sports Talk also airs on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. They talk Philadelphia sports, so definitely do check that out. So back to Jason Kidd. So Jason Kidd going to the Dallas Mavericks makes a whole lot of sense just because he was a former player. And I kind of get it. I think the Mavericks could have done better, but he knows the culture and what to expect with the Mavericks. My only concern for the Mavericks is, can they build around Luka Doncic? I know Dallas is not anywhere in Southern California, but the Mavericks have kind of been bounced by the Clippers the past 2 seasons, so it is what it is for the Mavericks, and I wish Jason Kidd nothing but the best. So here's hoping he finds success with the Mavericks, and here's hoping he can maybe win another ring. So we'll see. But as Jason Kidd does go bye-bye, the Lakers did and have reportedly hired former coach of the New York Knicks, David Fizdale, a.k.a. Mr. Take That for Data. And I think that's a great hire, especially since Jason Kidd just departed. And I think he's going to provide more offensive schemes for the Lakers. And I think his coaching wisdom, like, David Fizdale should have been on the Lakers staff ASAP. So, and I was even hoping he'd get the head coaching position, and then he chose the Knicks. But now it's coming full circle with David Fizdale joining the Lakers staff. So we'll see what happens with Frank Vogel and David Fizdale. I think it's going to be a great little 1-2 combination. And then I've also got reports that Scott Brooks was just recently interviewed to be the Lakers assistant coach. So that's pretty awesome right there. I'm actually quite astounded on how the Lakers are swiftly making moves after Jason Kidd just departed, as that is a very, very good thing. So there is that right there. Speaking of assistant coaches that have been recently hired, the Anaheim Ducks actually hired Newell Brown as their assistant coach, which that was just recently posted yesterday from the Anaheim Ducks' staff, as Newell Brown has been named the assistant coach. He joins the Ducks in his third stint as an assistant coach, having originally served in the role from 2005 to 2010 and 1998 to 2000, helping the club to a Stanley Cup championship in 2007. Duck fans rejoice. And then Brown has over 30 years of coaching experience in the NHL and in the AHL, the American Hockey League. And he's coached at the NCAA level, which is awesome sauce. And he also spent 4 seasons as an assistant coach for the Vancouver Canucks, helping the Vancouver Canucks win the President's Trophy in the 2010-2011 season. So there's that. So I guess this is a pretty good hire. I mean, all that coaching experience, and he's been with the Ducks, and he knows what to experience with the Ducks. So good stuff, Ducks. Yep, you did really good. As we say hello to Marcus Losgreat in the chat room and Larry B, thank you for popping in. Marcus says, can't stay, Teran, but do your thing, and I appreciate you popping in, Marcus. He has been a listener of Set Point and the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. You can check out Gloves Off every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Central, or not Central Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely do tune in to Mr. Marcus Losgreat, as Larry B is saying, He's showing Southern California some love. Joseito Lopez out of Riverside, and he says, Marcus, say something good about him, and Mikey Garcia out of Riverside. And Marcus says Lopez had a great fight against Thurman. Good stuff. So there is that about those two, and there was that about the Anaheim Ducks' hiring their assistant coach. So back to the NBA for a little bit. Now, the Lakers just actually announced their 2021 preseason schedule. I know preseason doesn't mean anything. I am actually the first to kind of say this, that that preseason doesn't mean squat diddly. I mean, the Lakers did so great in their preseason. I think they beat the Clippers twice, and they beat the Suns twice. And then what happened was, unfortunately, it just didn't pan out for them. I know injuries were a thing, but still. But as for the Lakers preseason, their first preseason game is October 3rd against the Brooklyn Nets. That'll be at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then on October 6th, the Lakers will be traveling down to Phoenix to play the Phoenix Suns at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then on October 8th, the Lakers play at Golden State, or wherever they're playing at in Oakland, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then the Lakers will travel back home to Staples Center or wherever the Lakers are going to be playing at in Southern California on October 10th against Phoenix. And then the Lakers play the Warriors at home, hence the word home, on October 12th versus the Warriors at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then lastly, the Lakers close out the preseason with a game on the road against the Sacramento Kings at 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, I had to make the Queens joke just because Laker fans and Shaq mainly called the Sacramento Kings the Sacramento Queens. Oops. As Gina says, the San Francisco Chase Center as no more Oakland. Okay, I guess that's what where the Warriors play. So thanks, Gina. Alright, so as for the NBA Finals, okay, I am actually interested in the NBA Finals. I totally am happy that the NBA Finals are a little different than normal. It's not LeBron or Steph Curry or Kawhi Leonard or anything like that. It's totally different. Like, it's the Suns versus the Bucks. I don't think anybody predicted this. Anybody. Like, if you predicted Suns versus Bucks like that one guy did back in 2016, pat yourself on the back and give yourself a cookie. But I like this whole little different matchup thing. I would like to see the Lakers battle it out for their second straight title and their 18th overall, but unfortunately, it's tough. It's kind of tough to repeat. I know that the Tampa Bay Lightning did it in the NHL, but for the Lakers, they had that big target on their backs, and everyone was motivated to defeat them. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for them, and they just couldn't repeat as champions. But hopefully they do better in the next season. So, and I know Phoenix and Milwaukee aren't in Southern California, but I do gotta make note of the Bucks and the Suns, just because I am an NBA fan, and so is my brother. Even though we're not talking about him, we're talking about the NBA. So for me, I picked the Suns in 6. I honestly want to see Chris Paul win a ring, as well as DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker and whatnot. But it wouldn't be surprising if the Bucks did make it a series. Tonight is game number 2 of the series between the Bucks and the Suns. I just think that the Suns they don't beat themselves, and Milwaukee was barely able to squeak out of that 7-game series. I know the Suns have also had it good when it came to their playoff run, and they had to go through a Lakers team who wasn't at full strength, a Nuggets team that was missing Jamal Murray, and a Clippers team that was missing Kawhi Leonard. But injuries have been flying all over the place. They've been distributed like Halloween candy, which is disappointing, but it is what it is, as the Suns would be winning their first ever NBA championship if they're able to win the whole series. But if Milwaukee wins, they'll be winning their second overall NBA championship and their first since 1971, I want to say. Regardless, I just think the Suns are just too good. Like, they don't make too many mistakes. As we say hello to Mike Pat in the chat room, says, how's it going? It's going great, Mike. Just reminiscing about the days of what's been happening as of right now, all the way back to July 8th, 2020. So, Gina says Suns will probably win the whole thing, but she's going for the Bucks. I understand. Especially as a I also kind of understand, because as a Warriors fan, you don't want to root for like the division rival, but the Suns just look so complete. Like, the thing about them is, I was fearing they were going to be too young, and I thought, but since they got past the Lakers, that was kind of their true test. Even though the Lakers weren't at full strength, they were the NBA champions. And I don't think there will be any asterisk on this championship. And can we please put the whole asterisk thing to rest? Like, I don't want to hear no more asterisks about any championship. Like, no more, please. I'm not just saying that just for the Lakers' sake and the Dodgers' sake. I'm saying that for every championship that everyone wants to play in. No more of this asterisk talk. Like, if you don't want an asterisk championship, please build a time machine, go back in time, prevent COVID-19 from happening. Boom. The events of the past will change, and we're probably going to get two-headed T-Rexes dominating the entire world and aliens running the entire human race, but I digress. As Mike says, Suns are a great overall team, can shoot, defend, rebound, and great floor general. Gotta love him. And then we say hello to Andrew Hagenbaugh, says happy anniversary, Teran. And Gina says the Suns ran through everyone in the West this season. Yeah. I can only imagine what it would be like if some of these teams were at a little bit of full strength. But, again, we can't take anything away from the Suns. Like, they've earned this. So, there's that right there. But the Suns lead the series 1-0. Like I said, Game 2 is tonight. If the Bucks want to have any hope of winning this series, they're going to have to come out and dominate. As they're going to have to come out, and also Drew Holiday has to come and basically not... He can't be like one-day Holiday. He has to be Drew Holiday. Because if Drew Holiday is one-day Holiday and he doesn't show up, it's over for the Bucks. As Mike says, two-headed T-Rexes, I can dig that. Yep, I decided to make that up on the fly. So, there's that. But as for the Bucks, they can't just bank on Giannis the whole series. They gotta have others step up, like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, because the Suns knew to counter Brook Lopez and whatnot. So, we'll see what happens tonight, as there will also be a live broadcast on Wellington Sports Radio, which you should definitely check that out at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you're in the mood of broadcasting, don't want to hear the ABC crew, go ahead and check out Wellington Sports Radio. Alright, so that is that for the NBA. And now let's jump over to the MLS, as the Galaxy and LAFC had some games recently. Let's go back to Saturday. So, on Saturday, LAFC traveled down to, what was it, Sandy Beach? It was Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah. Yeah, the city that Real Salt Lake plays in is called Sandy. So, there's your fun fact trivia right there. They don't play in, like, Salt Lake City or whatnot, which is kind of weird. Regardless, LAFC defeated Real Salt Lake 1-0, and the only goal was from Jose Cifuentes, scored in the 69th minute. I'm not kidding you. It actually was scored in the 69th minute. I'm not saying that just to be like Rob Gronkowski Jr. So that was kind of a good win for LAFC. Funny thing is that Real Salt Lake, and if I had like a special type of award, like the Dum Dum of the Week award from last week, I think it would go to Real Salt Lake and whoever ran their Twitter account, because Real Salt Lake put out this tweet. Remember the last time LAFC traveled to Salt Lake to take us on? The last time that happened, get this everybody, LAFC defeated Real Salt Lake 3-1, and this was last season. I'm not kidding you. Real Salt Lake tweeted that out, and they really tweeted out, remember the last time LAFC went down to Utah to face us? And then everyone in their mentions were saying LAFC beat y'all 3-1, and I'm just like, what? I'm like, this makes no sense. I'm not sure if someone hacked the Real Salt Lake account, but if someone had Dum Dum of the Week, or if I had a Dum Dum of the Week award, it would go to whoever is running the Real Salt Lake account. Because that's pretty embarrassing right there. You can't just say that. And as a result, LAFC defeated you, so that was unfortunate. This was played on Saturday, July 3rd. So now we move forward to Sunday, July 4th, as the Galaxy took on Sporting KC at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson. Unfortunately for the Galaxy, they lost to Sporting KC 2-0 in the battle of two top teams in the, or two of the three top teams in the Western Conference, as the loss also hurt the Galaxy quite a bit because they also could have gained ground on Seattle, who actually tied their matchup against, I think they played Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. But the Galaxy losing was just so disappointing. Like, the Galaxy had so many opportunities. And yes, Seattle tied with Colorado 1-1, and they beat Houston yesterday, but we don't care about Seattle. So back to the Galaxy. So the Galaxy had so many opportunities. They were teasing their fans that they were going to score against Sporting KC. Unfortunately, they just couldn't pull the trigger, and disappointingly, Sporting KC got on the board first in the 81st minute, courtesy of Johnny Russell, and then in extra time, they basically scored the game-sealing goal courtesy of Kyrie Shelton, which, you look at the shots, the Galaxy had 18 shots as opposed to Sporting KC's 12, and 7 of those shots were actually on goal for the Galaxy, while 6 of their shots were on goal were courtesy of Sporting KC. So it was kind of a disappointing loss, to say the least. It's like, you can't lose like that to a big-time rival. Like, this was the Galaxy's chance to show up a big-time opponent, and unfortunately, they just couldn't. And it's disappointing just because this kind of puts the Galaxy in the borderline contenders tier list when it comes to, like, contenders and pretenders. Like, the Galaxy are having a great season. Let's get one thing straight. The Galaxy are having an outstanding season. My problem is that this game against Sporting KC could have been their chance to say, we are for real. Like, we can hang with anyone and everyone. And the thing about the Galaxy is they hung tough with Seattle. Unfortunately, they lost the second go-around 2-1. So the fact that the Galaxy were in this match throughout most of the game until past the 80th minute is kind of heartbreaking, and it really could have been a huge win for the Galaxy had they pulled it off. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and the Galaxy are just going to have to go back to the drawing board. So, believe it or not, these two teams, LAFC and the LA Galaxy, actually had a matchup on Wednesday, which was yesterday, as LAFC defeated Austin 2-0 as Jose Cifuentes scored in the 39th minute, and Diego Rossi, or as I called him, the soccer magician, during a live broadcast, scored for the Galaxy. Or, not the Galaxy, LAFC. Cifuentes scored in the 39th minute, and Rossi scored in the 89th minute. So, Austin FC is an expansion team. I don't think it's too big to make note of that. And I don't think it's too big of a win, but LAFC is actually starting to gain some ground. If you look at the table, LAFC is now 5th in the Western Conference. Keep in mind, they were like pretty much way down in I think they were 10th at one point, if not 12th. But now LAFC has risen from the grave, and they have climbed their way back, as they're in 5th place. They have 18 points. They trail Colorado by 2, as LAFC is 5-4-3. 5 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws. And LAFC's goal differential is +3, which is really good. Not bad for a team that started off really slow. So, next up for LAFC is a home game against Real Salt Lake. That's going to be on Saturday. Well, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So, that's when the two teams are going to be facing one another. And I honestly think that, I guess there's something going on this weekend, that they decided to move the match on Saturday to the match on Wednesday. But that's the MLS. If you want more MLS coverage and better MLS coverage and in-depth MLS coverage, check out the Soccer Scoreboard Show with Andrew Hagenbaugh every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Andrew gives out the greatest soccer coverage, not just in the MLS, but with the professional soccer leagues, like the Euro League and the Premier League and Liga MX. The list goes on and on. So definitely check out the Soccer Scoreboard Show with Andrew Hagenbaugh. I promise you won't be disappointed. So that's LAFC right there. Now for the Galaxy. So the Galaxy got back on track. Long story short, the Galaxy got back on track, defeating Dallas FC 3-1. Long story short, they scored 3 goals. They were up 2-0 at halftime. Rayan Ravalosin scored in the 17th minute, and Kevin Cabral scored his first goal of the season. I think it was the first of the season, not the first of his career, as he scored in the 27th minute, and eventually the Galaxy went up 2-0 at halftime. Ethan Zubak scored for the Galaxy as they went up 3-0, and it was pretty much over from there, as Dallas did get a goal from Franco Jara in the 71st minute, but that was pretty much that, as although the Galaxy were outshot 13-12, the Galaxy did their damage in the first half, which is good, as Dallas was actually called for offsides 3 times, and even though the Galaxy didn't have too much, I mean, both teams were nearly equal in possession. The Galaxy just barely had a little bit more possession than Dallas when it came to this game. But this was a good bounce-back win for the Galaxy, as the Galaxy got 3 full points and are still in 3rd place in the Western Conference, which is good, as the reason why I mentioned that the Galaxy got those 3 points is because the Galaxy have now surpassed their point total from last year. Last year, the Galaxy had only a whopping 22 points. This time around, the Galaxy have 24, and there's still plenty of season left, especially for the Galaxy to do damage in the Western Conference. And I hope they can do damage in the Western Conference, because they're too proud of a program to be having mediocre seasons. I hope they can, though. I hope they can get her done, because if they don't, then Galaxy fans such as myself are going to be disappointed and whatnot. But I personally think that the Galaxy will be fine going forward. So looking at the Galaxy schedule, so on not this Saturday but next Saturday, the Galaxy will travel to Vancouver to play Vancouver. According to the table, Vancouver is dead last in the Western Conference. So Andrew says the LA Galaxy are playing well. Facts. And they have to win this game. I don't even think that's really a trap game as well. I mean, it kind of is, because Real Salt Lake is 6th in the Western Conference. So I guess the Vancouver game can kind of be a trap game, looking at it one way. But I think the Galaxy should be able to handle Vancouver, and then hopefully they can handle Real Salt Lake, as both of those games are going to be away games. Like, the Galaxy are going to be away from Dignity Health Sports Park for the next 3 games. As July 17th, the Galaxy play Vancouver, and then not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, the Galaxy play at Real Salt Lake, and then July 24th, the Galaxy play at Dallas, so there's that. And then the Galaxy will eventually close out the month of July with a matchup against Portland. Now, that's going to be kind of a key matchup because Portland did beat him the first time around, so I hope the Galaxy are better than they were the first time around because you lost 3-0. And we'll see if their goalie play can improve, because I think that's kind of the glaring problem with the Galaxy. I think their goalie play is what kind of hinders them. Their goalie play hasn't been bad. It's certainly not as bad as last year, but the Galaxy can improve on that. Let's get that straight. So there's that. And then I was courtesy of Andrew Hagenbaugh. The LA Galaxy signed Julian Araujo to, I think that's how his name is pronounced, Julian Araujo to a 4.5-year contract extension. And according to Kevin Baxter via Twitter, the deal is an MLS U22 initiative signing, and it runs through 2025. So that's some good news. And this news was broken on July 6th, which was a Tuesday. So, despite all the bad news that happened on Sunday when the Galaxy lost a game, when the Galaxy lost to Sporting KC, which I think they could have won that one, that's for sure. They get some good news, and I think that the Galaxy are starting to recuperate and regenerate. And I think this break is kind of what they need, because obviously that was tough losing to Sporting KC. They had their opportunities, and it was disappointing, not just from my standpoint, but from like other fans' standpoint, and from the standpoint of like the LA Galaxy beat reporter via Damian Calhoun, which, again, it really is disappointing that they lost that one, because that was their chance to prove that they do belong in the top portion of the Western Conference. But it's not all that bad for the Galaxy. Like, you look at where they're at in the Western Conference, they're only 5 back of the Sounders, which the Sounders did beat Houston yesterday 2-0. But it's not all that bad. Like, the fact that they're only 5 behind is kind of good. And then they're only 2 back of Sporting KC. And then you look at Sporting KC's record, they do play San Jose at home on Wednesday, July 21st. And then on Sunday, July 25th, Sporting KC plays Seattle. Now that's going to be huge right there. That could also be huge for the Galaxy, considering the Galaxy could move past Sporting KC if one of those teams, if Sporting KC loses. Or they could move past Seattle if Seattle ties, or maybe if they lose. Regardless, it is going to be huge. The next 2 games are going to be crucial for Sporting KC, and it's also going to be crucial for the Galaxy. Like, the Galaxy have to get it done against Vancouver next game, and then they also have to get it done against Real Salt Lake. But for right now, the focus is getting them healthy, getting them prepared, getting them better, and getting them focused for Real Salt Lake. Because if they get, or not Real Salt Lake, Vancouver. Like, they have to get past Vancouver, then they can look at Salt Lake. Like, that's just my thing. So, again, I'm not the biggest soccer expert. I know it's starting to improve slightly. Andrew Hagenbaugh is the big soccer expert, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Galaxy going forward. So, right now, both LA soccer teams are doing good. Like, even LAFC is starting to improve. So LAFC, like I said, their next game is against Salt Lake, and then not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, they play Portland, which looking at Portland, and this will probably be the last thing I talk about when it comes to the Western Conference, Portland's not a bad team, but if they could beat the Galaxy, I wouldn't underestimate them if I were LAFC. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Portland and whatnot. As Larry says, go Galaxy. And yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. Go Galaxy. And hopefully they can get the job done in their next 2 games. Because if they do, then they're golden to overtake Sporting KC or Seattle. If they don't get the job done, then it'll be a little bit tougher overtaking Sporting KC in Seattle, but there's still plenty of season left. There's a lot of season to go. Like, you look at the LA Galaxy schedule after... Whoops, that's Colorado. So you look at the Galaxy, they have 4 games left in July, they have 6 games left in August, so that's 10, 5 games in September, so that's 15, 5 games in October, that's 20, and then 2 games in November, so that's 22 games. And Andrew Hagenbaugh reenacts that they're only 5 points behind Seattle for first. And that's exactly the point, because the next 2 games are crucial for not only Seattle or Sporting KC, but for the Galaxy. Heck, Colorado can even overtake those 3. But I'm not going to look that far ahead. Like, we don't care about the Colorado Rapids. No offense to any Rapids fans out there. But for now, the Western Conference is kind of going through Sporting KC, Seattle, and the Galaxy in no particular order. As Andrew says, the Galaxy are also 2 points behind Sporting KC, which that is absolutely correct. Galaxy have 24 points, Sporting KC has 26, and Seattle has 29. So it's still doable for the Galaxy to win the Western Conference regular season title. But once playoffs start, they got to be locked in. So there's that. But that's enough MLS talk for right now. Let's actually take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we got some MLB to discuss. Then we've got some USC UCLA basketball news. And then we got to reminisce on what has happened from last year of July 8th, 2020, all the way to the present day. And it's going to be a nice little trip down memory lane. So, you are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after a word from these commercials.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Teran Rodriguez. Are you a fan of
volleyball. Are you a fan of thunderous spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
And we are back with segment number 2 of Set Point. You can check out all of our amazing shows on different streaming platforms such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, which some of our shows are on. So hopefully soon all of our shows will be on. Spotify, Spreaker, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, and even YouTube. And also we're available on TuneIn, I think. So, regardless, iSports Radio is available on several different streaming platforms, and also we have our own website called iesportsradio.com. So just go there and pick up a bunch of t-shirts, because we have a lot of clothing merchandise. We even have tank tops. Get tank tops. Get tank tops for the summer, just because sun's out, guns out. So, without any further delay, now let's jump into segment number 2 of Set Point. Yes, we are on segment number 2. So, let's jump to the MLB, as it's been quite an eventful ride for the local teams, as the Angels are off today, and the Padres, the Padres played tonight against the Nationals. The Dodgers played earlier, as they won 6-1 against the Miami Marlins. So it has not been a good week for the Dodgers. Let's say that. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Marlins. They lost the first game 5-1, which I was very disappointed in that. I'm like, to the Marlins? I'm like, okay, well, I get it. The Dodgers are still on this whole 8-game road trip. I understand. But no big deal. Minor blip in the road trip. The Dodgers then lose the second game to the Marlins 2-1 in 10 innings. And one of my friends on Twitter said that the Dodgers made the Marlins bullpen look like Cy Young, which is kind of funny. And then on Wednesday, the Dodgers lost to the Marlins 9-6, which I want to say they lost that one in the 8th inning. No, it was the 9th inning, as someone the Dodgers conceded 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th, which was disappointing, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, as the Dodgers had so many, because in those 3 games, the Dodgers had so many opportunities to at least take one, because the sad thing is for the Dodgers is that because in their first 2 games, the same day that they lost to the Marlins was the same day that the Giants, which still lead the NL West, they lost to the St. Louis Cardinals, which, if the Dodgers win one of those games against the Marlins, the Dodgers take over first place. But unfortunately they didn't, because they just squandered all their good opportunities to take down the Marlins. And losing those games really kind of deters your confidence. So I understand that the Dodgers were on an 8-game road trip. They were at Washington, and then they had a quick turnaround after their final game to Miami. And I know Miami can be blistering hot, but look at what the Angels had to go through when they played the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, as poor Dylan Bundy learned that the hard way. As I won't discuss what happened with him, but I digress. So, in the previous series, the Dodgers swept the Washington Nationals in their 4-game series. So last Friday, which, because I talked about the Dodgers' first game against the Nationals, the Dodgers beat the Nationals 10-5 on Friday. And then last Saturday, the Dodgers beat the Nationals 5-3. And then last Sunday, on the 4th of July, the Dodgers beat the Nationals 5-1. So the fact that the Dodgers put up a grand total of 5 runs combined in the first 2 games against the Marlins kind of speaks to high volumes of they're kind of fatigued. It also does not help that the Dodgers bullpen has been depleted as of late, as they just lost Clayton Kershaw, as he's now on the, I think he's on the IL. I think it's just like the 10-day IL, but hopefully it isn't worse. It's bad enough that the Dodgers also have to go through the whole Trevor Bauer drama, but I'm not going to get into that, so there's that. All in all, the Dodgers still have some work to do. They're only 1 game back of the Giants in the NL West because, again, they won today and they were able to gain a little bit of ground. Could they have gained more ground? Of course they could have. But they can't complain because they have a nice little series against the Arizona Diamondbacks at home on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that is the last series until the All-Star break. So the Dodgers could go into the All-Star break in first place if they play their cards right. But the most dangerous team in the MLB is a team that has nothing left to lose. And because the Diamondbacks, let's just face it, they're the worst team in the MLB. They're definitely the worst team in the National League, as they are 25-63, unfortunately. I'm sorry to all the Diamondbacks fans that have to hear this, but it is what it is. So the Dodgers should at the very least take 2 out of 3. Like, the Giants kind of made note of this when they played the Diamondbacks. They dropped the first game last week, and then the next 3 they won. They won those 3 games and eventually won the series 3-1. But as for the Dodgers, they cannot afford to lose 1 game. Like, I can see them losing 1 game, but they have to win this series. If they don't, then they're going to fall further behind. And this is their golden opportunity to take over the NL West if they play their cards right. As in the standings, the Dodgers, like I said, they're only 1 game back. They're 54-34. The Giants are 54-32. I know it's a 2-game difference, but it is what it is. The Giants play the Nationals this weekend, as it's going to be in San Francisco, as Oracle Park. That's their name. So we'll see what happens with the Giants and the Nationals. Like, the Nationals were once the hottest team in the MLB, and then they kind of cooled off courtesy of the Dodgers, as they eventually lost 6 straight after losing to the Padres, which is perfect segue to go into when it comes to the MLB, as the Padres, they were coming off of not really their prettiest week, as last weekend they lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies, as they lost the first game 4-3 in 10 innings, and then they lost the second game 4-2, and then in the final game of the series, the Padres dominated the Phillies 11-1. So as for their series against the Nationals, this past Monday, the Nationals got the better of... Actually, no. I said that the Padres won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. They actually lost 2 out of 3, as the Nationals beat the Padres in Game 1, and then 7-5. And then in Game 2, last Tuesday, the Padres beat the Nationals 7-4. And then yesterday was very, very ugly as the Padres lost to the Nationals 15-5. It was 15-2 at one point, and I'm like, oh gosh. And I know Padres have also been battling some injuries, but everyone's been going through them. Look at the Dodgers. So the Padres close out the series against the Nationals tonight at 6:10 p.m. at Petco Park. And then before the All-Star break, the Padres do face the Colorado Rockies, once again at Petco Park. Now, the Padres got to be careful with this one. The last time these two teams met, the Padres actually got swept by the Rockies. So the Padres need to realize that if they want to have any hope of winning the NL West or any hope of catching up to the Giants, let alone the Dodgers, they have to start winning these games, because it only gets tougher for them, and it also gets tougher for the Giants. So in the NL West, the Dodgers are, I already talked about their record, they're 54-34. The Padres are 51-38. So that's something to note as well. The Giants still have the best record in all of baseball, even though they've played 2 less games. Believe it or not, the Red Sox and the Astros have the same record as the Dodgers, as those 3 are tied for the second best record in the MLB. So there's that. And speaking of the Red Sox actually traveled to Angel Stadium to take on the Angels. But first, before that series, the Angels swept the Baltimore Orioles, which I kind of thought that wasn't going to happen, just because the Orioles sometimes give the Angels problems, whether it's because... Oh, shoot. Gina says there was an earthquake up in here. It's a 4.0 earthquake. Oh, shoot. So I guess there was an earthquake in Northern California, so I hope everyone in the San Francisco or NorCal area is safe. So I should probably expect an earthquake in Southern California in a little bit. So if you hear a little rumbling, or if you hear me panicking or muting my mic or suddenly going to a commercial, that's just me hoping I don't die. I'm kidding. But thank you for the update, Gina, on the earthquake. Hope you're doing safe. So back to the Angels. Okay, Gina is doing good, so good to hear. Alright, so now we go back to the Angels. Now we go back to Southern California. So the Angels swept the Orioles last weekend as they beat the Orioles 8-7. Now I'm surprised the Orioles gave the Angels so much trouble through most of this series. Like the Friday game, it could have gone either way, but luckily for the Angels, they were able to grind out the win. It was courtesy of Jared Walsh, who brought home Shohei Ohtani, as Jared Walsh actually made the All-Star team, which at first he wasn't on the All-Star team. I think he wasn't a part of the starters. Well, then he made the reserve team, and I think he's taking over for Mike Trout, who's still hurt. So that is good to hear that Jared Walsh was able to make the All-Star team, because he deserves it. Like, let's be honest. Jared Walsh has come up huge. He had that grand slam against the Yankees, which tied the game and eventually gave the Angels the win. He had that game-winning RBI single, which basically gave the Angels the win against the Orioles. And I don't want to hear anyone saying that the Angels screwed the Orioles, because if you see instant replay, Shohei Ohtani was certainly safe. And the post-reaction after that home run, Shohei Ohtani was lying down and he had his arms in the air, clutching his fists. That deserves to be hung in the Louvre, as that basically summed up that little like moment where Shohei was on the ground, pumped up. That basically summarized my thoughts on the Angels beating the Orioles, because sometimes the Orioles, despite them having a shoddy record, always give the Angels such weird trouble. I don't know why, but maybe it's because the Angels look too far ahead. Maybe it's because the Orioles are semi-better than what most people give them credit for. I don't know. But the Angels got the win in Game 1 over the Orioles. In Game 2, the Angels had a little bit more of an easier time as they beat the Orioles 4-1. They didn't have too much trouble as they jumped out to a 3-1 lead and added an insurance run, so it wasn't a big offensive outing, but it wasn't too bad. Like, the pitching actually was good. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that. The pitching was actually surprisingly good for the Angels. Like, good pitching and Angels don't really go together, unfortunately. But hopefully that changes before the trade deadline, which I won't get too much into that, but there's that. And then the Angels were able to grind out the win against the Baltimore Orioles in Game 3 as they won 6-5. Strangely enough, the Angels were up 4-0, and then Baltimore tied it in the top of the 6th inning, and then they eventually took the lead at 5-4 in the top of the 9th inning. And I'm like, are the Angels really going to blow this one? I was like, oh gosh, the Angels really are going to blow this one. And then I see they got the bases loaded, which was great stuff as the Angels eventually got a double from, I think his name is Jose Lagares, as he was able to bring home 2 runners and eventually win the game for the Angels, which was good. I'm glad he was able to do that. So that was a nice little sweep for the Angels, as thank goodness they were able to get the win. Like, it would have been so Angels had they unfortunately lost. Juan Lagares, that's his name. So Juan Lagares brought home 2 runners when the bases were loaded, and the Angels got the win, which was nice. So in their most recent series against the Boston Red Sox, as Larry was talking about in the chat room, the Angels actually took 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. And keep in mind, the Red Sox did have one of the best records going in. If not, they had the best record. As the first game didn't go the Angels' way. They didn't get blown out, but they trailed most of the way. They were down 5-1 at one point. The Angels brought it back. They tried to get it together. They even had the bases loaded with Shohei Ohtani on deck. And unfortunately, I think it was the second or first baseman made such a great play to get the last out, and that was that. And I was really disgusted when I don't know who it was. I think it was like the pitcher or the first baseman was waving bye-bye to Shohei Ohtani after he grounded out, which, again, it was disappointing. And the worst part of that loss was that the Angels lost on Shohei's birthday. I was so disappointed. It's like, gosh dang, it would have been so great to see Shohei be the hero on his birthday. But unfortunately, the Red Sox had to play spoiler because the Red Sox are this year's villain this year. So it's unfortunate, but I knew the Red Sox were darn good. So that was a heartbreaking loss, but you're going to see that loss actually wound up being karma for the Red Sox, as the Angels actually beat the Red Sox in game number 2 this past Tuesday, 5-3, as the Angels actually pulled the reverse card and jumped out to a 3-1 lead, and even though the Red Sox tried to nibble away at that lead, the Angels added a pair of insurance runs as Jose Iglesias grounded out to third, but Max Stassi scored, and David Fletcher had an RBI single, which was good stuff for him. So overall, it was a good win for the Angels. Winning that game was a big way to bounce back. And the funny thing was that the Angels' Twitter account said the B in Boston standed for belated birthday. So that was good for the Angels. They got Shohei Ohtani a late belated birthday present, which was good stuff. And then in the last game of the series between the Red Sox and the Angels were able to pull out the victory 5-4. The Angels got off to a 2-1 lead, and then Boston was just trying to nibble their way back. But the Angels just wouldn't relinquish that lead. They never trailed at any point of the game, as they went up 2-0, eventually went up 4-2, eventually went up 5-3, which that insurance run really helped them out. And it was courtesy of, you guessed it, Jared Walsh. He hit 2 home runs in this game, as this just goes to show you Jared Walsh deserved to be an All-Star. And I'm so glad he made the All-Star team. So great stuff for you, Jared Walsh. Because without that insurance run, the Angels are going to extras, and God knows what happens in that extra innings. As Andrew Heaney got the win, and the Angels picked up 2 out of 3 wins against the Red Sox. So that's great stuff. As the Angels have the day off today, but are back next Friday, or not next Friday, tomorrow against the Seattle Mariners. They are playing at Seattle as the Mariners and the Angels play on Friday at 7:10, Saturday at 7:10, and Sunday at 1:10. So the funny thing is that the Angels and the Mariners actually face each other again next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, this time at Angel Stadium. But that's looking too far ahead past the All-Star break. I'm not sure what the Angels are going to be doing when it comes to the All-Star break and the trade deadline, as I'm not sure if they're going to be buyers or sellers. Like, the Angels are certainly not out of the wild card race, and they're mathematically not out of the AL West race, but I don't see how they're going to catch up to the Astros. I mean, obviously the A's have had their ups and downs, but the A's won today, and then the Mariners won today against the Yankees. Go figure. So I don't know if the Angels will be able to catch. They're certainly not going to catch the Astros, but the Angels are going to need a lot in order to catch the A's, and they didn't even have to catch up the Mariners. As looking at the standings where the Angels are at, the Angels are 1 full game back of Seattle. So thanks Yankees. We could have used that win. Gosh dang Yankees team. But the series against Seattle will be crucial because it would be great if the Angels were to move past the Mariners, especially since the Angels had such a shoddy. They were off to a promising start to the season, and then they came tumbling down, and then eventually the getting swept by Oakland didn't make any matters better. So we'll see what happens with the Angels going forward. If anything, they just need pitching. They need to get pitching, because if they don't, they're not going to be anywhere where they want to be. Like, it's a miracle they're even above 500 at this point. They just got to keep it consistent. But if they do finish the first half of the season on a strong note, that could give the Angels some promise. But there's no guarantee that they can make the postseason. Like, they could have a record above 500 and then miss the playoffs, which that would hurt their draft capital. But we'll see. We shall see when it comes to the Angels, as the Angels' Shohei Ohtani is going to be participating in the Home Run Derby, which is going to be really, really awesome for Shohei Ohtani, as Shohei Ohtani is I'm trying to pull up the bracket right here. So, yeah, Shohei Ohtani is going to be in the Home Run Derby against Trey Mancini of the Orioles, Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals, Matt Olson of the Oakland A's, Pete Alonso of the New York Mets, Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies, Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals, and Joey Gallo of the Texas Rangers. So that's going to be fun for Juan Soto is on the Washington Nationals. So overall, I hope Shohei Ohtani does win it, because it would give him another trophy, along with that YouTube Player of the Game trophy, which one of my friends loves to post about. Like, every time Shohei does something amazing, he always posts that Shohei Ohtani trophy with him holding the YouTube Player of the Game. Shohei deserves to be paid all the money in the world. He deserves all of that money, kind of like the Mike Trout money. So we'll see what happens if Shohei does win the Home Run Derby. Like, he's for sure my pick. Like, I've even seen some throwback games from when Shohei was pitching he was hitting in the Japanese league, where he hit the ball so high it went through the roof of an indoor stadium, which is pretty cool. So overall, Shohei winning the home run derby would be absolutely amazing, but he faces some stiff competition. So we'll see how it goes, though. But that's enough for the MLB talk. Like, it's great to see all three Southern California teams above 500, which is nice. We just gotta hope that they stay there, and hopefully the Angels are able to improve on their standing in the AL West. So there's that. But that's enough MLB talk. Let's jump to some college basketball talk, as yesterday I found out that UCLA had two players that are staying with UCLA's men's basketball team, and they are also withdrawing from the NBA draft. So Johnny Juzang and Cody Riley both announced that they are withdrawing from the NBA draft and returning to UCLA's men's basketball team to play this upcoming season, which is really cool. Like, Juzang had himself a great NCAA tournament, as he helped. As Juzang had a great NCAA tournament run, he helped UCLA make the Final Four. It really sucks that UCLA lost off of a half-court buzzer beater, but the fact that they even got that far, and the fact that they pushed Gonzaga to the brink of defeat, was absolutely amazing. As Juzang, from what I heard, did not have a great NFL draft, not NFL draft, an NBA draft workout, which it really sucks, but it is what it is. Like, he tried. Like, you can't fault him for trying. And then Cody Riley, I guess, decided to withdraw from the NBA draft and return to UCLA as well. As, believe it or not, Cody Riley actually worked out for the Lakers, which is really impressive. Like, it was really cool. Like, he, as well as a few others, got to work out for the Lakers. And I even saw fans saying that the Lakers should draft Chris Duarte out of Oregon, which I hope they do. Getting Chris Duarte would be fun. That would really add depth to them and depth to their scoring as well. And one person even said that he's better than Kyle Kuzma, which I digress. As Gina asks, Teran, how do you feel about student athletes withdrawing from the draft and returning to college? That's a good question. I'm actually happy for them. Like the NFL, or not the NFL, the NBA draft isn't for everyone. Like, sometimes you just have that bad workout that just hurts your draft stock. And I think that these players withdrawing from the draft and going back to their school to play at least maybe one, maybe two more seasons with their team that they promised they'd help win a championship is great stuff. And I think that it's good that they're doing that. And I'm all for it. Like, it gives them a chance to, like, work on their craft and help them immensely when it comes to the next NBA draft. So there's that right there. And then we also have Isaiah Mobley from USC, who is withdrawing from the NBA draft, and he is returning to USC to play for the Trojans for one more season. Isaiah Mobley is the brother of Evan Mobley, who is for sure in the NBA draft and is going to be a top 5 pick. So it's good to see that Isaiah Mobley is going to be playing one more season for the Trojans. And I actually saw this today, and I made note of this on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, that UCLA is now the top team in the Power 36 offseason, or NBA, the Power 36 from when it comes to, like, the post-NBA draft or pre-NBA draft. That does not mean anything to me. As As honestly, it doesn't really mean too much, but UCLA is now the top team of the NCAA March Madness new Power 36 from Andy Katz. So I guess that really means something. Like, they overtook Gonzaga, and Johnny Juzang announcing that he is coming back to UCLA means a lot of good for UCLA, and it means that they're title contenders, which I'm not going to crown UCLA just yet. Like, we all thought Gonzaga was going to be crowned the champs, but Baylor had other plans. But I digress. So there's that. And honestly, at least, and also I saw San Diego State on the other teams considered when it comes to the top 36 or the Power 36. That's cool that San Diego State was included. One team I was surprised that didn't make it was USC. Like, I don't get why USC is not featured on the Power 36 or the teams to be considered, as they have a bunch of good players return. They have some players returning. Now, they do lose a lot, but it's not overly bad, and they have a good freshman class coming in. They have Harrison Hornery coming in from Modern Day, and they also have the California Gatorade Player of the Year, Malik. I think his name is Malik Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, I don't get why USC's not getting any love. I know it's me kind of being a homer, but Malik Thomas is a very talented player. He comes from Damien, which produces a lot of talented players. And I know Harrison Hornery comes from Modern Day, which also produces great talent, but I don't get why USC gets no love. It's disappointing. But it could be fuel for the fire when it comes to USC. I hope that motivates them, and I hope that makes Andy Enfield and his team say, why not us? So there's that right there. Larry and Gina are going back and forth, and I actually want to pull up what Larry said. He says, well, he actually compliments me on having 49 episodes in 52 weeks. I appreciate that, Larry. Just imagine what I did with Set Point back in its 1 year anniversary. But I digress on that. But Larry says, but that's on you if you left. Now you should go pro. I know that sounds mean, but come on, you left. You shouldn't get to test the waters, and once you find out you're not going to get picked high or picked at all, run back to college. And he makes a reasonable point. That's actually a very valid point. And honestly, it does seem a little weird going pro and then saying, oh, I don't want to go pro. Actually, I was going to make a comparison to that when it came to something else, but I don't think it's a good comparison. But regardless, Larry does make a good point. But it is something I didn't really expect to be asked. I think it's a good idea, but to each his own. So we're just going to leave it at that, and we'll hope to see what happens with the USC and UCLA players that bounced back after not going into the NBA draft or not thinking they're not worth it, but after having second thoughts about the NBA draft. So we'll see to it about that. But that's going to do it for the NCAA portion of the show. Now let's get to the 1 year anniversary of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So as Larry mentioned, I've had 49 episodes in 52 weeks. Pretty darn good. This 1 year anniversary has been quite a journey. First and foremost, it's been an honor providing amazing content when it comes to Southern California and bringing the Southern California content to IE Sports Radio. It really means a lot, and a lot has happened ever since July 8th, 2020. The Lakers won a championship, which was absolutely fantastic. The Dodgers won a World Series, which I know everyone's going to say asterisk, but I don't believe in that. Absolutely not. No. And then USC men's hoops made the Elite Eight, which was for the first time since God knows when. And then UCLA made the Final Four, and like I said, they were a half-court buzzer beater away from seeing a double overtime game against Gonzaga. And USC's football team made it to the Pac-12 championship, which unfortunately they lost to Oregon, which was supposed to be Washington, but Washington was unable to play, so then USC got the Diet Coke version, which was Oregon, which Oregon unfortunately showed their true team, and we're not going to go over there. But I digress on that. But a lot has happened when it comes to Southern California and its sports. Currently, right now, Southern California is pretty much back in action. Like, everything is appearing to be back and unlocked, and, well, not unlocked, but everything is starting to open up as these not only Pac-12 schools, but these Big West Conference schools are saying that they're going to be at full capacity. And it's not just like the UC Irvines, but it's Long Beach State. I think UC Riverside is attempting to get back to full capacity. USC is getting back to full capacity. UCLA is getting back to full capacity. And all these sporting events are going to have fans in the stands as opposed to last season. And it's all because everyone has done their part to slow the spread. And that is great stuff right there. Great stuff. And I definitely got to give a golf clap applause to those who are doing their part to slow the spread. Because it really sucks that sports had to be canceled in the first place. Like, even youth sports were canceled. But eventually, it was better to cancel them now than to put them at risk of being permanently canceled in the near future. And the fact that youth sports are also back is also great as well. Like, it sucks that there was still COVID-19 happening during this season, but the fact that we have made it through the worst of it is great stuff. And I hope we don't ever have to deal with this ever again. So, and then also, a lot has been going on with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. After episode 25, I decided to switch up my theme, because personally the one I had, I didn't like it just because it had, like, it wasn't the ideal theme. I'm just going to put it at that. Like, this theme, the current theme that I have, I was actually going to use that for the drops or the commercial, but then I was like, you know what, let's run with it. So that's how the SoCal Supreme Sports Show got to be when it came to that aspect. And unlike Set Point, I was actually a little bit more comfortable doing the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, just because I had that podcasting experience. Like, I had more experience underneath my belt, and I was with iSports Radio for more than a year. So there was that right there. I felt more comfortable doing SoCal Supreme Sports Show. As, again, this may not be as big as, like, all the big-time shows, but I'm hoping to continue to produce great quality content for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show and iSports Radio in general, just because I like doing this whole thing. I really think Southern California, being a big market region, or big market, and with big market cities like Los Angeles and maybe San Diego, once it gets off the ground, it needs the recognition. So I'm glad to be doing this, and a few other things that have happened when it came to Southern California ever since last year of July 8th, 2020. Justin Herbert developed as an NFL star. As I also said this, I wanted Tua Tagovailoa. Unfortunately, he went to the Dolphins, so we had to settle with Herbert. And it was either going to be Herbert leads the way or Tyrod Taylor leads the way. And eventually, Tyrod had that little thing happening, so eventually Justin Herbert took the reins and he ran with it. And he even got Offensive Rookie of the Year. So that was another thing that happened in the world of Southern California ever since last year of July 2020. Also, the Rams won a playoff game. They beat their They beat the Seahawks in the wild card round, and basically they eventually lost to the Packers, but they gave it their all. They couldn't have asked for a better effort against them. However, after that loss to the Packers, the Rams went straight to work, and they went out and got Matthew Stafford as they traded away Jared Goff, and I think their first-round draft pick. And the thing about the Rams is that the Rams are so interesting when it comes to trading away draft picks. They don't have too many draft picks, but they don't need them because they have somewhat of a complete team. Now, the Rams can be also difficult to predict just because sometimes they could be on top of the NFC West, and then they could pretty much be in the middle of the pack behind the 49ers and the Seahawks. But for the Rams, they're showing promise and they're showing some chops. They still have Aaron Donald, even though I think he's like 30 or 31, but he's still in his semi-prime years. Regardless, the Rams are obviously doing their thing. The Chargers, I think, in my opinion, are starting to get more like supporters and revenue and profit courtesy of Justin Herbert. And it's a good time for NFL football. And then as for NCAA football between USC, UCLA, and San Diego State, USC obviously proved that they were one of the best teams in the nation. Unfortunately, they had that blip against Oregon, and then eventually nothing went their way. And then UCLA kind of improved. They obviously didn't go bowling. Like, all three teams decided to opt out of bowl games. But UCLA looks a lot better than they did when they did a few years ago before Chip Kelly arrived. I can't believe I am actually saying that about Chip Kelly. And then San Diego State, this past season, they didn't do all that great. But then again, San Jose State really came out of nowhere, and then Nevada just kind of socked it to San Diego State. And then San Diego State also had to play that awkward game against Colorado, which, not Colorado's fault, not really USC's fault. So I think that's most of what's been happening in Southern California ever since I first went live with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Oh, also, one more thing to add is that I don't work at a part-time job anymore. And then also, I graduated from Cal State Long Beach back in May of 2021. So that's what's been happening ever since July 8th, 2020, all the way up till now. So that's pretty much your history lesson when it came to the past of SoCal Supreme Sports Show all the way to 1 year later. So that's what's been happening. I also need to mention that iSports Radio is growing. So ever since the SoCal Supreme Sports Show started last year on July 8th, 2020, iSports Radio has continued to grow, not just with its current content, but it's getting new content by the day. And iSports Radio is going to continue to grow until it has shows in all big-time cities. So there's that right there. And also, I also do need to make note of one more thing when it came to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, is that I actually had to move my times and days, as originally the show was supposed to be on at like Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then it just felt awkward. It's like, Wednesday? And even my brother agreed to this. It's like, why Wednesday? And he encouraged me to move it to like Friday, and it's like, Friday's the perfect day, man, because Friday everything ends and then you start the new week, and then it's just a better day to move it to. So I gotta thank my brother for that, and I also gotta thank him for being a part of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as he was a guest like way back when the NBA playoffs were still in the bubble and whatnot, back when the Lakers won the championship and the Dodgers won the World Series. Like, I enjoyed having him on as a guest. So, and I enjoyed having his takes on the NBA and the NFL and the MLB and whatnot. So it was great having him on. And I also have to make note of one of my other guests who actually is a Boston fan. Yes, one more thing is that I had a Boston fan named Chris. Hopefully we'll get him back on the show when the Chargers play the Patriots in the NFL season. So I had him on as a guest, and he didn't even know I had a show, this type of show. He didn't even know I had Set Point. So I kind of had to introduce him to this, and I was like, don't worry, I won't bag on the Celtics or the Red Sox or the Patriots. Like, at the time, he actually didn't bag on the Chargers after they got stomped on by the Patriots. So it was great having him on as well. And it goes to show you that shows like this can actually reach out to other people and teach them a lot about these things. So it's been quite of a whirlwind ever since July 8th, 2020, all the way till now. So the fact that SoCal Supreme Sports Show is still on, despite all the obstacles, whether it was the Twitter account almost getting taken down because of some bologna sausage, whether it was stuff getting in the way of my schedule and all other things getting in my way, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show is still going strong. And also, I am getting used to having a headset mic, which is absolutely amazing. So there's that. But without any further delay, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for tuning in on this 1-year anniversary. And one last thing, it is that time, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time to get on out of here because, first of all, I've got some supper to eat, and second of all, dinner to eat. I shouldn't call it. Why do I call it supper? Anyway, I have some dinner to eat, and then in about less than 30 minutes, we have another show going on, being the Extra Mile, which I've been on the Extra Mile as a co-host, and it's amazing, and a guest as well. So definitely do check out Daryl Kinsey Jr., Michael Ward, and Christopher Lehman in less than 30 minutes with the Extra Mile. But without any further delay, it is time to get on out of here, get some dinner, and enjoy the rest of iSports Radio's shows for the day. Thank you all once again for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I definitely appreciate it. If you are listening on the playback, I appreciate it. If you're listening live, I appreciate it. If you're listening in the wee hours of the morning, I appreciate it. If you're listening wherever, whenever, I appreciate it. Thank you to the chat room for popping in. Marcus Los Great, Andrew Hagenbaugh, Gina G as always, Larry B for popping in the chat room saying happy anniversary, and Miss Mary Ella, the co-host of the Red River Rush. I appreciate you all tuning in. I appreciate everyone that tuned in, and I am deeply, deeply thankful for you all. You are what's keeping this thing going. Also, I got to make note that next week is the 50th episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So the celebrating isn't going to be stopping there, as we've got another big show aligned for next week. I don't know if it's going to top this one, but what can we do? For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourselves a great rest of the day. Have yourselves an amazing weekend. Wear lots of sunblock. If you aren't vaccinated, definitely get vaccinated. I will see you on the flip side, most likely on Monday for Set Point. Have yourselves a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the rest of iSports Radio shows. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!